Yeah, greetings everyone. Hamburg, Flutter and beyond. This in March for 2021. Very warm welcome to everyone. Very glad that this stays on and we have our next meetup going on right now. Today I'm going to make the moderation for this part and going through all the awesome speakers we have for today. And I hope you're all excited, and maybe some of you even saw the agenda for today, and it's going to be very, very nice. Because the agenda for today is the first one from Majid is going to be what's new in Flutter 2. Because, well, a lot of you are probably aware that Flutter announced Flutter 2 on its Flutter Engage event, and Majid is going to talk in more detail about all the awesome stuff that has been changed and added. And next up is going to be the almighty Canvas from Anton, who is going to talk about some pretty neat stuff you can do behind the scenes with painting stuff and so on. Pretty nice. And then after that, we have Thomas, who is going to talk about his package Get It, and explains how it's being used and what awesome features it enables in your application and why you should probably use it in your app. And then after that, at the end, we will have an Ask Us Anything round where you can freely ask us any questions for the presenters, or even me, the moderator, if I can contribute something. But yes, you can feel free to ask there anything. And yeah, something to say at the first time now is that after every talk, we will have like a short time frame for questions, where you can freely ask questions about the topic or something that's interesting. The person might, or the speaker might answer you there. It won't be too long because we want to stick to the agenda. So if we have too many questions or some questions are too long, we will like put them at the end at the Ask Us Anything round. But yeah, we will try to manage the time there, so you can just come up with all the questions you have, and we will just schedule them. But before we go into all the speakers, there are just like two minor things I want to talk about. First of all, some social stuff, some updates there. We created the Twitter account, Flutter and Beyond. It would be really cool if you would follow us. We will post some updates there. If we have some updates to the agenda or the upcoming events, and we might even retweet some awesome Flutter stuff. We will see what content will be there, but the very least you will get the most up-to-date information about our upcoming updates, events. So feel free to follow us. I think it means no harm and can just some awesome information. So would be really cool if you could do that. And the second thing is, some of you might know that we have a website, flutteringBeyond.com. You can just visit right now. It's like it tries to be some kind of community work, because in the end it's open source and it's built with Flutter Web. And you can just initiate pull requests and so on, and contribute yourself. You can see there is even a contributors button on there, and we didn't even do that. One of the viewer contributed this contributors button, which is really nice. And we would like all of you to contribute if you want. Very happy to evolve this website with the community, but we will of course contribute it in the background to improve it and enable more and more features. Again, our agenda and our first talk would be with Majid. But before we put in Majid on the screen, just a small introduction of Matze, who is just want to say some small information. So Matze, welcome to the stream, and just your place. Just tell something nice for us.
Thanks, happy to be here. I'm Matze. I'm organizer of the Hamburg Android user group meetup, and I was just happy to get you folks connected to some Google developer relations to organize speakers and so on. And Google actually also sent some swag over. I don't know what it is in detail, but sadly it also didn't reach us in time. But hopefully for the next meetup then, so we can raffle something away. As said, I also don't know what it is, sadly, but let's see what's coming. And as said, I'm organizer of the Android meetup. Personally, I'm also using Flutter and working with it, and I'm a big fan of it. So I'm happy to also that we can maybe do something together in the meetups or share connections and so on. And yeah, saying that, I also wanted to share that next week on Tuesday, we are hosting our next Android meetup, where we also have a talk about Jetpack Compose, which I guess also has some similarities to Flutter, and would be happy to see some folks there as well. But I will post a link to the chat, and yeah, besides that, looking forward to our first talk.
Great. Thanks a lot, Martin. Thanks a lot. So yeah, would be great if you folks would even join this meetup and look about the Android Compose stuff. Really awesome as well. So yeah, but now without further introduce, I will going to say, Majid, it's your turn with your awesome topic, what's new in Flutter 2. I think a lot of folks are really, really hyped to know what has been announced and what awesome stuff has been added in Flutter 2. So Majid.
Sure. Thank you. Well, actually, before I want to start, I like to promote the Flutter Beyond channel. Subscribe, because these organizers are awesome, and I'm sure that they're gonna bring you amazing content in the future. So do not forget to follow them for sure, both on Twitter and YouTube. But hello, my name is Majid, and well, before this meetup, I had a friendly chat with organizer, and we discussed that it might be a good idea if we review Flutter Engage and we see what is new and what was announced and the top points of the Flutter Engage event. So you may have seen or have heard many of these, but bear with me. So we're going to review Flutter Engage, talk about some cool stuff that was announced. And it's good, even if you have watched the talk or Flutter Engage, it's also good to refresh our mind and once more get excited about Flutter 2. So let's get started. So my name is Majid Ajian. As Rene mentioned, I'm a Google developer expert for Flutter and Dart and passionate software developer just like you. And I do a lot of community things such as organizing meetups, speaking, and contributing in different cases like writing or making video content and whatever. So you can follow me everywhere. If you have any question later, that's my handler on the screen. So almost everywhere, LinkedIn, Twitter, GitHub, you can find me with this handler. So I'll be happy to answer your question, if any, at any time. So, but let's get it started. So, what was announced? So, most of the screens that you see, they are just in a screen that I just took from Flutter Engage. So, let's talk about them. The first things that it was announced, and it was so amazing, a new word, portable. So, portable is a new thing for it was not actually that new, but it's a new word on the screen, comes with the rest of the words that we usually hear about Flutter, like beautiful, fast, productive, open. But now we can also say it's portable. And the reason is that now Flutter supports on a stable all the different platforms that it was in beta or development. So, for example, web now is stable. We're going to talk about it. So there is also support for desktop, Linux, Windows, Mac. Although desktop version is still it's unstable and it's not stable somehow. It's with flag but it's on a stable branch, which means you're gonna see a lot of improvement quicker for sure. And iOS and Android, and a lot of cool news that we've heard regarding embedded devices who or where they are going to use Flutter. So One example in Flutter Engage, if you have not checked it yet, so I strongly recommend to go ahead and check it out. I will share this slide with you. All the links and resources that you need to read more, everything is there. Don't worry about it. So you just pay attention right now. I'll share these slides. But the Flutter Folio is an amazing example, which you can see how we can build with a single code base and Flutter for different platforms. In Flutter Engage, we've seen several big names, including some of the apps that Google itself is creating. For instance, maybe one of the big one is Google Pay, which now has been released with Flutter, or Stadia app, which we have known already. And these names gives us, as a Flutter developer, a bit of like confidence, so that Flutter is going to grow and it's going to shine. So it's a peace of mind. And one of the interesting things that was announced in Flutter Engage, support or contributing Microsoft for supporting foldable devices. And this was to me a great news, which I have seen that one of the big players in IT industry, like Microsoft, is contributing to Flutter to make it even better. And of course, they're going to do that for their device, the devices like Surface 2 that they have, and it's foldable. But anyway, any improvement is a good improvement for Flutter developers. And so you get now this improvement for free out of the box in Flutter as well. One of the aspect of this support for foldable devices was, which is very nice, the widget that they introduced was the support for choosing which screen you even want to do something on, like showing one dialogue or alert dialogue or something like that. So, well, one of the biggest news maybe was for web, Flutter Web. Flutter Web was in beta channel for a while, and I think everyone was expecting Flutter Web goes to stable, and that has happened. So, what is new to Flutter Web? It's interesting. First of all, an example that it was mentioned was from the company called iRobot, which is creating this vacuum cleaner or a smart vacuum cleaner. And apparently they have some type of robotic tools for kids, especially. So for the training purposes or education, they have a web application which is built by Flutter. The demonstration here was announced in Flutter Engage. But what is new in Flutter Web, and that's very, very interesting, was one of the things I think I have used Flutter Web quite a lot. I also have a production ready app for Flutter when it was in beta, Flutter Web. But I think I was excited for a couple of changes which was stable more or less. For instance, some of the keyboard supports, or a custom URL, or different strategies that now you can use, or the more accessibility support on desktop, as well as rich text functionalities. These are the things which was not very intuitive for web with Flutter, but now they are way better than before. And especially a big improvement or performance improvement with new renderer, which was experimental for a while, but now it's stable. So now we have two stable renderer, Canvas Kit, which is technically using WebAssembly and Skia, and it's going to render with the modern with Canvas API in the browser. But also we have HTML renderer, which is very optimized, and it's good for loading your application, especially on mobile devices. There are also lots of news around plugins. Many plugins right now support different platforms, including web, and that's very nice. Another big news was moving desktop platforms, Mac OS, Windows, and Linux to stable. Well, as I said, it's on a stable branch or a stable channel right now. However, it's with early release flag still. But this jump, I think, a very big news for Flutter, again, Flutter 2 especially, was supporting Canonical and using Flutter to build their installer app, as well as contributing to Flutter and actually accepting Flutter as a first citizen to create, Linux application with Flutter for especially Ubuntu. And that was a very big news and a huge investment from this company on Flutter too. In fact, another news that I said was supporting, or at least we've seen some, different implementation of Flutter on embedded devices previously as well. But I think seeing that big players, especially Toyota, in car industries, who they are going to bring Flutter to our cars later, sometime in the future, maybe. It's an interesting opportunity for us as a Flutter developer. We'll see that how Flutter is going to evolve, and it goes to these devices. And you can now imagine like what we can do. Literally, Flutter is going to be everywhere. Maybe like on a refrigerator, on some watch, or not watch, sorry, on some smart devices at home, or some screens. Who knows? Maybe smart mirrors someday. You never know. But these contribution and collaboration between big companies and Flutter, I think it brings a lot of cool opportunity for Flutter and Flutter developers. And as Team said in Flutter Engage, the secret sauce behind Flutter is Dart for sure. And Dart was also announced. Dart 2.12 was announced we've been expecting sound null safety to stable, and it's now on a stable. And we also have seen Dart FFI, which is helping you to integrate your C language code with Dart. So if you want to read more about null safety and sound null safety and what's new in Dart 2.12, I've added a link to this slide. Dart DevTools, another great news from engineers from Google or from Flutter team, has got some good upgrade. I also created a video for that. It's available on Flutter Engage website, event website, or you can go to my YouTube channel and watch it. So you'll see what's new. There are a bunch of new things that has been added to Dart DevTools, and you can now use it. This is going to be very nice. I added my a link to my YouTube video, which I created for Flutter Engage. Many developers were so excited about Flutter SDK or Flutter Mobile Ads SDK. I didn't use this SDK at all, so I was not that excited. But I've seen a lot of excitement and from different developers who are very now feeling relieved after seeing this release. Still is beta, but I think because of the features that they added to the mobile ads SDK for Flutter, such as controlling over your ads the way that you want to show it. So it was very interesting news for many developers, especially if you are going to earn some money with your app. Now you have a chance to experiment with the new SDK and play with the different way that you can show the ads. So in short, we've seen quite a lot of news about Flutter 2. So from Dart upgrade to sound null safety, big applications built by Flutter, such as Google Pay, mobile ads SDK, Toyota using Flutter to implement some screen, or let's say some of their application on the cars, different screens. iRobot using Flutter for education was very nice. For me, Microsoft contributing for foldable support in Flutter was a big news. I think collaboration between these big companies, it's gonna be very good for Flutter developers, which is going to create such a good opportunity to grow this framework. And Ubuntu, of course, Canonical with the support of Flutter or accepting Flutter as a first choice was an interesting update. There was a bunch of other news about upgrading different plugins or such as Firebase. And one thing that we've seen at the same day was the upgrade was, of course, was available immediately and for free. So you could have simply upgrade your stable channel and just have version 2. But when you have done that, probably you've seen a lot of errors and probably your application doesn't work and things like that. It was also introduced two tools. One of them was already introduced, like Dart for migrating your project to null safety. That was already there, and we have been using that for a while. So, but another one which was new and was introduced for helping you to replace depreciated stuff with the new ones automatically was Dart Fix, or you can run Flutter Fix, and then you can see what is depreciated and how it can be fixed. And many of the things can get automatically fixed out of the box. All right. So these are all about Flutter 2. And it's a lot more. That was quite like around 3 hours or 4 hours of content. But I tried to grab like the 10 or maybe 15 main points of the Flutter Engage and introduce it or review it again here. I am happy to answer any question or anything that you have in your mind and you want to know about Flutter 2, and you may have not heard or you don't know where to get those information. But I will share this slide right now, right after my talk to the comments. You can once more review, grab those links. You can review them if you want. And with that said, I'm happy to take some questions if Rene helps me to answer those questions.
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Majid. Really nice talk. I'm also very excited about the development of Flutter and what has changed and what is coming. It's just great. So thanks a lot for the recap. Yeah, so one question is, for example, a lot of people have like suggested what would be announced and what is going to come along and so on. And a lot of people hope for the watch smartwatch support. What are your thoughts about on that?
I think there is.
Is this only my connection?
Sorry, do you have me?
Oh, yes. Yeah, now you're back. Now you're back. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I think I lost the connection for a second. Yes. I was saying that there is already some support for smartwatches. I think there is a library from Flutter community, and one of the contributors, Simon Lightfoot, I think he is working on that. I can post the link for smartwatches library or some sample codes that you can use with Flutter. So I'll post it in the Slack so you can see.
Oh yeah, great. Thanks a lot. That would be very nice. Another question was is there any good article about breaking changes in Flutter 2, like the change button API, for example? Damian asked.
Yes, I added one to my slides in the beginning. There is one from Chris Sells. So he explained some of the breaking changes, so you can go through that. And there is also one more page on Flutter documentation. I will share it to the comment right after my talk.
Oh, great. Thanks a lot. Another question is Flutter for TV apps. Any information about that?
Yeah, I asked the same question, I think, from Chris Sells a few weeks ago when we had Flutter Extended. Well, I don't think there is an official support at the moment, and I'm not sure if they are going to do that for a while. I think we already have too many platforms, but I'm sure nothing will stop us as a developer to get Flutter to TV. So, in fact, there are some. I think I've seen some libraries, if I'm not mistaken, from Sony, or one of the developers from Sony. He was working on some kind of solution to get Flutter into some type of devices like TV, for instance. I will find his tweet and I will share it with you.
Oh yeah, thanks a lot. And I think I read something about that. Microsoft is planning to support Flutter on Xbox or something like that. Not sure
Yes.
how official it is. Yes, it is official, I think, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there are also, I think, some probably other speakers knows better than me, maybe Thomas, but I think there are some already attempts to get Flutter into Xbox. So
Nice.
I think I've seen that already.
Very nice. Yeah, another question would you use Flutter Web for your new web project? Good question.
That's a good question. First of all, I have a full talk about Flutter Web. I will share my slides. Hopefully you can see some comparison between Flutter Web and other frameworks in JavaScript frameworks and TypeScript frameworks, let's say. Do I use? Well, absolutely. Depends on which app I am creating, of course. If I am going to create, to be honest, I did that. I already built with Flutter Web when it was in beta, and we have an app right now in production. So, but the app that we have has a certain use case. Let me explain. First of all, we didn't need SEO, for instance. We didn't need public facing. It's everything is after login or after authentication. So a user will redirect to a dashboard style and they will see everything. So that's the first thing. Another thing was we didn't have too much DOM manipulating too much of DOM. So let's say, for instance, if you have a very complex table and you're going to sort and things like that. Well, actually, to be honest, I had that, and I don't think Flutter is still good for that. Well, at least I didn't have a good experience with that. But generally, if you are going to support your mobile and let's say your Android and iOS app and build a web application for your customer, and you just want them to work, and you know that they already have a good connection, so like downloading maybe 1 megabyte of JavaScript is not a big problem, or things like that. Definitely go for it. I mean, why not? Single code base, and also Flutter Web is getting constantly improved by Flutter team. I'm not saying it's fast, but it's getting there, right? So if you have these type of application, you have a single page application which does not require too much DOM manipulation, if I pronounce it correctly. And let's say if you have, or you can maybe turn your application into a progressive web app for the second load, and afterwards it's going to be faster for sure, then yes, you should go for it, I think.
Yeah, thanks. It's a very good explanation. Another good question is, will Flutter fight with Angular on web field? What are your thoughts about that?
Well, that's a good question. I don't think Flutter will fight with any JavaScript framework, to be honest. I think Flutter has its own use case, and it's not still a big competitor to JavaScript frameworks. So, that with that said, it's not going to fight with Angular for sure. So Angular has its own use case. A lot of people are using that, and Flutter has its own use case. And you may evaluate your project before you use either of them.
Yeah, that's true. That's good. I think we can fit in two more questions around about. One very good question, I think, is, do you think Flutter will manage to keep the various platforms uniform, also when it comes to community plugins?
Well, maybe. I think so. Well, I don't know. We should ask this type of question from product owners or managers in Flutter team. I am not in that position. I don't think so. But I have my opinion. I think they will. For the Flutter plugin community, I am not sure. There are some certain criteria for plugins. Let's say if you see a Flutter favorite, for instance, and you have some of the amazing maintainer today as a speaker, Thomas is here. So you should ask this question from him probably. So
yeah, we'll save it later.
He's an amazing person. So you should watch him first and then ask this question from him.
Totally right. Another question is, Flutter for Nintendo Switch when? Well, we have got Xbox, so
I can tell you when we have time to spare some some hours to do something with Flutter. We as a developer, I don't have time right now, but if you have, I'm happy to contribute to your project. You start, we'll follow you.
Yeah, that's right. That's good. And I think the last one we can fit in before we should go to the next talk is there a unified way to create iOS and Android support? And he asked it, I would like to avoid something like this, and he showed some code like if you have to ask and every time, like, what platform are we tackling now? Like, is it Android? Is it desktop and so on? Like, it can be tedious to do that all the time.
Yeah, well, okay. So with all of the application that I have created, I think for just except couple of exceptions, which I think we made a plugin for that. Most of the time, well, I didn't need to do this if Android, if iOS, because most of my application were somehow had like a unified design. And that means, and actually this is I'm seeing that as a trend these days. So except some part of the application, which makes sense to give your user the native experience of that platform, many part of the applications, perhaps you've received it from your UX or UI designer, and it's going to be similar in many platforms. And I see that many actually designers these days, they don't even consider this discrepancy. They are even designing unified design or unified design system for both platforms. And in that sense, Flutter is a great framework. You can extend Material App, for instance, and do whatever you want. But for those small pieces that I mentioned, first of all, there are plugins already which you can use, or if these are the things that you are using a lot, like for instance, you want the toggle and different native toggle, different platforms. So then you can just simply create a plugin and just reuse that every time you're building an application. So you see that it's one-time build and many times used. It's not going to be too tedious. Although I'm still thinking there are already a lot of plugins like that.
Yeah, right. Thank you a lot, Majid. And nice timing. I think we've just hit the right time. Thanks again. Really appreciate you having this talk. I think we all are very, very happy about the development of Flutter, and you could share us your knowledge about it and the summarizing it. Very, very nice. Would be very good if you could even stay later on for the Ask Us Anything. I think there are even more questions to follow on. So we will hopefully see you then again. And so thank you again. I will just
thank you very much for having me.
Of course, every time. All right, so to go on with the next part, let me just quickly show you what we have done so far. So what we've just talked about, what's new in Flutter 2 from Majid. Thanks again, just great. And the next talk we're going to have is the almighty canvas, also a very interesting topic, from Anton. So I would just give it up to Anton. I hope you're on the stage already. And and you can tell us something about this topic. I think it's very nice to know. So go on, Anton.
Yes. Can you see me? Yes, can. Nice. Hello, I'm Anton, and I will talk about the Flutter canvas. And go through some basic concepts of how you can use it and show a little bit of code and a small demo of what you can do. So who am I? I consider myself a professional hobby developer. And what does that mean? Well, I have published some apps with Flutter, and they give me a small income stream. But the income stream is below like €1 a month, so it's very much a hobby. So yes, let's get into the canvas. Or me, I mean. So I published 3 apps. The first was called Alpha Snake, written in Android, using the canvas, but the Android version for my own game engine. And then I released 2 apps in Flutter, Knutna Näven and Water Countdown. And I'm working on transforming or porting to Flutter Web for Knutna Näven as well. So that is exciting. Yes, what is a canvas? Well, everyone knows what a canvas is. It's something blank that you can draw on. And if you're an artist, you can make something that looks kind of neat, even. I am no artist, but luckily enough, you can use the Flutter canvas to create something neat. Anyway, so that is nice. So what you do on a canvas is that you draw. You draw a line, you draw a circle, you draw a path, but you can also skew, transform, or scale the canvas, which is very nice. So a canvas, how do I use it? Well, you have a custom paint, which is defined by its size, and a painter. And the painter extends a custom painter, which has 2 methods, paint and should repaint. And paint, logically, is where you paint stuff, like draw a line or such. And should repaint tells the canvas if it need to redraw, which is useful when you are making animations, which I will be talking about a little later. So that's the main components of when you want to use a canvas. So I want to show you my little canvas. So here I have my canvas painter with the two methods paint and should repaint. And oh, maybe it's too small to see. Oh well, let's not focus on the code. So this is a canvas. I'll increase the size a bit. It has an origin and an X and a Y axis. And here I have drawn a circle on these coordinates. So just to give you the basic idea how the canvas works, you have something, you have a point where you want to do something, and then you draw at that point or offset, and this is what you get. So let's add a line, and it's simple. And I draw from offset 0, 0, which is the origin, to the point. And I need to reload. Never do coding line. So here you see, now we have a line. Very simple use case. We have a line. So yeah, let's go back here. So what you can do more is create paths and draw paths on the canvas, and that is very useful for creating your own kind of objects, like and also when animating, it's very useful. But how a path works is that it has a start and it has an end. They can be at the same point, but do not have to be. So you create a path, you move to the point you want to start, and then you add lines, arcs, rectangles, and such, whatever you want. And of course, I have prepared an example for that as well, which basically, I wish I could zoom. Start with a path. You move it to origin, and then we do a quadratic baser to the point, and then to the end, bottom right corner of the canvas. We reload that, and now we have a curve that follows the point. Very easy and nice function. Let's also, for the fun of it, show an arc. And this arc is made from a path that starts at origin, then arcs to the point, and has a radius, and then arcs to the bottom right corner of the canvas. And then we simply draw the path onto the canvas. And here we go. Now we have two paths, one to the point and one to the end of the canvas. And as you notice here, it's possible to draw outside the canvas. You should not do that, as it can interrupt other widgets around it, or I mean, overlay them and hide. So that is never good to do. Try to stay inside the canvas, but as this is a demo, I'll let it slide. So right, that was paths. Let's see if we can do something fun with it. So I'll try to recreate this, which is supposed to be a water inside a glass bowl or something that moves. So animation, nice. And I'll just have to fiddle around a bit. let's see. Let's do the wave animation. And the way it works is I've created a path, which is basically a sine curve. And I give the sine curve a height, which the sine curve bases its face and its position. So as you can see here, simple math. A sine curve of the I, where I is the width. So depending on the x value, the y. Yeah, you will get what I mean. So here we have our simple sinus curve. And as the animation ticks up, the x value increases and the wave goes down. Super easy stuff. Then, why don't we add another wave that's slightly phase shifted? We add another wave, we reload, and we should have 2 waves. Look at that nice chaotic see-through water. And a nice thing we can do is add some color. So instead of black and white, we use blue and another blue. Let's see. Blue accent and blue. Reload. And we have something else. Nice. And finally, the last thing I wanted to mention in this demo is the clip path, which only draws things that are inside of the path specified. So here I've defined a circle path, which is a rounded rectangle. It's very rounded. So when I reload now, we will have the clip. We will clip away everything that's outside of the circle. So we have this nice animation left. So that was the fun bit. What comes after the fun bit? It's the madness. So in a project I'm working on now, I experimented a lot, and it's basically an app where you follow someone through their life, and you want that avatar to age. So one of the things I did, it's not pretty, it's still a work in progress, but one of the things I did was to add individual teeth. So when they are shown in the animation or in the avatar. So those who have kids know that they gain teeth and then they lose them. And then they get them back, new ones. Amazing. So let's reload this. Now, first show you some of the madness in code. Because, so here's the map for the teeth. And to decide when to show the teeth, I have this paint teeth. Horrific if statements. So, I mean, this is not really related to Canvas. It's more related to what you can do if you get too much time on your hands. So when I paint the mouth, it's really... Oh, I haven't shown you what it looks like. So this is the result. This is a 1-year-old. He got 1 tooth. And then as he grows, he gets bigger. The hair gets whiter. And he gets bald. And he also got fat around the age of 30, which is kind of realistic. But as I said, still a work in progress. So yeah, the mouth here is a lot of teeth and a mouth path, some coloring inside, and another path for the tongue that you could see when he had no teeth, that little finger. So yeah, that's basically what I wanted to share, and I think my time is up.
Yeah, thank you a lot, Anton. I think yeah, it's crazy what you can do with canvas and painting, custom painter and Flutter. Your imagination is like unlimited. So I think it's very great to do that, and some very nice examples, especially the water flowing part. I think it's really cool to do something like that. Really nice use case of that. Since we are already pretty much on time here for the break, we can like transfer the questions to later on to the Ask of Anything. But yeah, thanks again for the presentation. Really good. And I think since we are like now 1 hour in, we should like take a small five-minute break. It's almost like 4 minutes now, and yeah, we will start on 7 p.m. With Thomas' talk about Get It and this ecostructure behind it. So we're back again. Just a short break to get something to drink or whatever you needed to do. So yeah, so thanks again for the speakers we had so far. I think some awesome topics to discuss, and even more to in the future. We have so many topics we can cover with Flutter. It's like endless, almost endless. But yes, so without further ado, the next one, Thomas is going to talk about his Get It plugin and some stuff around it. And I'm like very happy to let him be here and have some awesome talk about it. So Thomas, greetings. I hope you're ready to talk about your awesome stuff. And I'm like very glad to hear your talk right now. Your show.
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to be with you. Okay, for all that don't know me, my name is Thomas Burkhardt. I'm a Flutter freelancer and also on Flutter and Dart GD. Yeah, I'm sort of the legacy system, one of the oldest in the community, I guess. We have some others, but so this might also explain why I have a certain way how I approach structuring apps and building apps. So what I want to show you today is, yeah, Get It. What is Get It? Oh, I should be in the right window. So let's have an example. This is an example for an app structure that I call the architecture. I call RVMS. We have in there several different objects that interact with each other. We have managers, we have services, and we have UI. Yeah. So I won't get into detail now on RVMS. This would be time for another talk. But just to see, we have different objects in the system, and the question is how. This here is, for example, a more realistic example. This is from my current project, which I also can give you a short glimpse on the here on the side. This is an app that is the mobile interface for a drone detection app. So where you have a map part, you have some list part, and the structure from the app inside looks like this. So I have some wrapper for the main page, which has different larger widgets inside, like the map view, the list on the right side, the main menu. Then I have a manager that controls the map. I have a manager that does the analysis of the data that I get from the server. And if I look in such a system, the question arises, how do we access all these objects, especially from the UI, but also from each other? So, for example, managers can interact with each other, or managers interact with services, which are at the lower end, at the outside of my app. And to do this, there are different approaches. When I started with Flutter, right when Flutter was announced from the beta, only inherited widgets were the proposed way how to pass down data objects to the UI. And the funny thing was, at this time, I was not able to get inherited widgets really working. And actually, I got it work in a way that I could access data, but I never manage to get it in a way that it updates my UI when the data changes. So, and but at the same time, I came from .NET, and I knew there used there a service locator called Splat, which I really liked, and also I was used to streams, and Dart has streams. So it was quite close to say, okay, let's port Splat to Dart and use this. And in the meantime, provider has took most of the stage in this area, especially because since it was proposed from as a recommendation from Google for beginners. And it's a nice package, but for example, it has one drawback in my opinion. Or two drawbacks. One is that you always need a build context to access your objects that are registered with a provider. And the other thing is that the provider widgets, they clutter a little bit your UI tree because they are not real widgets. They are some meta widgets, and but you have them in the widget tree. So it's this is the things that I don't like so much at this approach, and Gedit avoids this. It's super fast because internally, actually, it's more or less a map type and type object. A little bit more in the meantime, but a type object. So it's an we have an access time from open 1, so which is pretty good. We don't need any context, and it's very easy to use. Yeah. So if you just want to access your, if you just want to access your objects, it's very straightforward. Let's see how this is done. So the easiest way that actually, again, I'm always for to be pragmatic. The easiest
Thomas,
way,
just one thing, since we wanted to make it more like dynamic in this case.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to step in, and because the topic you just covered is very interesting for me personally in this case, but it could be interesting for everyone. Provider uses the build context inside, and as you said, it's part of the widget tree and it relies on the build context and so on. And it's probably historically related since it's built on inherited widgets and so on. And but still, I'm asking myself. I see that there are drawbacks of that, obviously, because you have to have a build context to do that.
Yeah.
But do you see any positive things, any advantages of using the build context, just to know it, just to hear it, because I'm not sure if there are any.
Actually, yes. There is one case where it makes things or can make things easier. That is that you can override an object in the build context that is registered in the build context in a widget further down the widget tree. And it will then get this this object, for example. It's a sort of scopes, and this can be helpful. In my opinion, I choose a little bit a different way. We will see later on. Gedit also has scopes, but they have a different approach. And there might be a few situations where you are better with a build context related approach, but I haven't met yet any one of them.
Yeah, I see. I get that.
Okay.
Yeah, I probably never use a build context like additionally on just having to pass it to providers. So I can see that point. Yeah. Thanks a lot. I might step in later again.
Yeah. So and how do we use it? This is how actually it's very easy, and I'm always pragmatic. So most of the time, I just assign the instance of the Gedit locator to some global or, nicely I said, ambient variable that I can access from anywhere. And but you don't have to. You can also access Gedit over the instance every time when you need it. But it's just for now. We use the global variable. It's easy to follow. So in a setup function that is typically called at the very beginning before we actually start the create our first application widget, we call a setup function, and this one registers in this case a singleton, and it registers an object as singleton, and in a way that it is. Can I Good question. That I registered with a type, app model in this case. And this is the type that is used whenever I want to access this object in my app. And I can, and then I pass in a concrete implementation, in this case, app model implementation that is derived from app model. You don't have to do this. You can use the same, you can just use the same type on both places, but often it makes sense to do it in this way. And now, in the past, when we used the an inherited widget, we would have something like this here, the view model of context update, and with the with gedit, I really have to, and with gedit, we now just do this here. So it is an service locator get app model, and I directly call the update function. So and the nice thing is gedit is a callable class. This means I don't have to type the get. I can directly write. Actually, there's a mistake. There is this dot is too much. SL app model update, and that's all that I need to do. So we have different types what we can register. One we have just seen. We can register a singleton, and the singleton. The singleton has the typical feature that it is only once in the system. Yeah. Then I can also register a factory, which needs a factory function passed in on registration. In this case, every time I access app model, it would create a new instance. And the last one is I can create a lazy singleton. Lazy singletons are registered but not created. They are created the first time someone accesses this type over gedit. Therefore, they also need a function in this case. So what can we do with this? For example, we can easily switch out implementations. If I have an app model and I have one concrete implementation, app model implementation, and an app model mock, I can at startup just switch between these two variants, and the rest of my app will always use the type app model and will automatically get the correct type, the correct object that was registered in the beginning. So some people feel uncomfortable with this that they have to rely on the service locator when they write tests. This can be avoided, or can be you can work around this with this pattern here. For example, here if you pass in an optional parameter, this would be now in the nowadays they would have to be nullable. That's not that nice anymore then. But then you could do it like this here, so that while in your tests you can pass in your mocks directly here, and inside the app the object would be accessed over gedit. Now it gets a little bit more interesting. What we can do async registrations, and this is actually something which is quite important because a lot of objects, especially some services, but also managers, for example, or business objects that have an initialization that is an async call. Yeah, and with these async registrations, we can easily handle this. We have exactly the same sort of functions than before, just in the async version, and instead of get or the callable class, we have to call get async and await it. Yeah. The important thing is as soon as the this async function that I pass in, this async factory function that I pass in, when it has completed once, after this, I can just use normal get functions. And the thing is, how do I, for example, if I have several objects in this several objects that need an asynchronous initialization, how can I manage it that that they are initialized in the correct sequence, and do this without having a lot of ugly startup code in my app? And for example, in this case here, we have the config service, we have a database service, and they depend in this case. And the REST API service does not depend on anything. So Gedit supports this in that we can say that we for example, the config service. This is the one way we could do the asynchronous initialization. Then we have the REST service, which is also registered asynchronously, and then we have and now we have the database service, which is dependent on the config service, and all I have to do is that I pass in on the depends on parameter the type this type depends on, and so it will wait till the config service is configured before it starts. It calls this registration function, and if it's and for example, if it's not an async function but it's a normal singleton that has to wait for some async function, I can use the register singleton with dependencies. And if I set this up in this way, I can then, somewhere in my widget tree, have a future builder that takes the already function from Gedit to receive a future that will complete when all objects have correctly initialized, which makes your which makes the code very, very clean, very easy to maintain.
Thomas, just a quick question.
Yeah.
Since we have just been in a widget tree, which is fitting to one of the questions a viewer had.
Yeah.
Is it, for example, possible to dispose a model injected with Gedit directly? Like, can I say, for example, if a user, like, for example, navigates back from one page to dispose the model because it's not needed anymore?
Yes, there are actually two ways, and you just remind me of the one thing that I had forgotten in the slides, but I will just explain it. Gedit, as I said, Gedit supports scopes. And scopes are just like they work like the like a navigation stack. That in that way that you register when you call any register function, it gets registered in the current scope. So, for example, if I have now objects that should only live as long as they are, for example, for one widget, I could push a new scope. And the push scope function has a register function that where I register the new objects. And at the end, when the widget returns, I do a pop scope, and all objects that have created inside the scopes are disposed. And scoping also has the ability that you have, if you have an object in one scope, in a higher up scope defines, it will hide the lower one. So if you access the type there, you can access this. You can register the same type in multiple scopes with different objects if you need to. If you want to. Typical case where I use it, for example, in my app when a user logs in. So I have a base scope where I register all the very, very basic services like config service and stuff like this. And then when the user logs in, I push a new scope and create the user object inside this new scope. And when the user logs out, I just pop the scope, and I can be sure these objects and every objects that were registered in the time during the user was logged in will be destroyed. Yeah. So there's this is a quite flexible concept, and you see the difference to the scoping of provider or inherited widget, that it does not depend on the current UI state, but it reflects a business state. For example, like logged in, logged out, yeah, or create a new shopping cart in my app. Log out and delete the whole everything that is related to the shopping cart, for example. Yeah. So this can be done with scopes.
Oh yeah, I see. Good example. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Thomas.
Okay. So yeah. Now if this automatic synchronization that I showed you is not enough for you, you can actually do it manually. You can query single instances if they are ready or not, and so you can do really crazy stuff with this. In most cases, you won't need it, and in case that actually it's one of the things I hadn't seen in the beginning, that so many people want it. If you need multiple instances of the same type, you can do this in the way that you give them a name. So that together with the type, you pass in a string, and the combination type string will get you the correct object back again. This was getted until last year. And I was quite happy with it, because I typically registered objects in there that exposed some stream, and in my UI I used some stream builder, and I was happy. And then some users asked me, "Oh, could you do something to support a little bit more of a real state management?" And in the beginning I was not sure what do they want from me, and then they told me, yeah, like Provider does it. And I have to say I took some inspiration from Provider, and especially not from Provider but from Flutter hooks from Remy, and to see how could I do it in a way that allows me not to add things to the widget tree, but give me much more flexibility. And what the result is the get it mix-in. So, for example, if we to explain this, we have to look. We need some model object to understand it. Here I have in this example I have several objects. One is a value notifier string that will be registered inside getIt. Then I have a model class that extends change notifier, which is registered inside getIt, and you can see, for example, the country property will automatically notify listeners that listen to the model class. And then I have some other model value notifiers, for example, name inside this object. And now we will see how the mix-in will allow us to observe everything of them in a very, very comfortable manner. So all you have to do in the stateless widget, you add the with getIt mix-in, and with this you get a bunch of very handy functions, member functions that you can directly use inside your build function. For example, get, which is actually like normally accessing getIt, but for example, I can we had this we had a value notifier string registered, yeah. So in this case, I can say watch value notifier string, and it will return a string. And this leads to that as soon as this registered object changes, it will trigger a rebuild of this widget and assigned the new value to this variable that I then can use inside my real build function. Yeah, and the same thing is I have there's a little bit watch only, for example, allows you to watch a single property of an object that implements change notifier, or watch X allows you to watch any property that implements value listenable and will rebuild automatically the widget tree as soon as the value changes. And yeah, watch X only is if you want to have more control to access some nested objects. And if we wanted to update this widget based on all these different properties, we would normally need a whole bunch of nested builders, value net listenable builders, animating builders, and so on to watch a change notifier or a value notifier. And with the mixin, I can completely avoid this. I at the beginning I access the values and assign them to local variables, and then I use them inside the widget tree. Only thing that is important, because this is the way this thing works, it's the same restriction that Flutter hooks has. You have on every build on every build cycle, they have to be executed in the same sequence, and there can't be any conditional or something like this in this part up here. Yeah. So this is important to know. But otherwise, you don't have to care about anything like this. So just a side note, as this is especially watch X is an ideal function to ideal method to monitor value listenables or value notifiers. It's a very nice in combination with my Flutter command package, but this would go way too far today. So, but we cannot only use it to observe value changes. We can also use it for streams
Thomas,
and futures.
Just a quick question.
Yeah.
For your last slide, because it's just fitting, because I can see it here. I hope it's not a too fundamental question, which would take too long to answer. But you've decided to assign keys to every text widget entity. Is it like an important part to be able to rebuild, or is it just have it?
No. Oh, sorry. This piece of code is part of the get a test suite, and for inside to access the with the test runner, the values of my to verify the values of my text widgets, I need keys. That's all. Has nothing to do with this.
Okay, great. It was just confused if it's necessary. But
people might ask the same question. Okay.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. So we can also watch streams and futures in the same way. I can call watch stream on my model class that is registered inside getIt, and I tell it with this accessor function here exactly which is the streams. It's the username updates, and I pass in an initial value, and now every time a new item pops up on the stream, this will rebuild this widget and assign the last value to the current user variable. The same thing for the future. I can observe easily futures in this way. It will wait till the future completes, and then it will rebuild the widget. And the nice thing is, normally if you have a stateless widget, you would need a stream builder or a future builder. That's not necessary with this. And the whole widget tree looks much cleaner. It's so much easier to see what's going on compared with if I had here two builders in it. And the other nice thing is that the mixin takes care of anything that all the subscription that are used in under the hood are disposed when the widget is removed from the widget tree, so you don't have to worry about this. And in the same way, we can even register handlers, which means we can register handlers for value changes of value listables, streams of future handlers, and they will work in a stateless widget. Normally, you could not do this in a stateless widget. You would need a stateful widget where you register in init state, and update the dependencies. You would have to unsubscribe and resubscribe, and you have to dispose in the end. And the mixin does all this for you. So if I have, for example, I want to show a dialog when, for example, the model changes, that's all I have to do, and I'm completely covered. But also, this has to be called inside the build function. The same thing exists, by the way, there is also another mixin, the stateful mixin. If you have a stateful widget and you want to use it in your state, you can again use it with the mixin, but then you have to add a mixin to the widget and to the state. But all other functions are accessible in the same way. Yeah, and that's my blog, and you can find me on Twitter often. Yeah, too much often, but you can always, if you have questions, you can ask me. Just ping me, and I'm happy to respond.
Thank you a lot, Thomas. Really, really nice talk. I think it's really nice to get some insights from the author itself about this awesome package, because I think a lot of people use it and are very happy with using it, and having some insights from you is very, very nice.
Yes, I'm also really happy that I can share, especially share a little bit about the Get-It mixin, because this is most people don't know about it yet. This is unfortunately one of the drawbacks that if you are sort of the underdog in this in the state management arena. You don't get as many videos and blog posts and everything like this, yeah. And I can't write everything on my own. So for this, I'm really happy to have the chance to show it here, and because I think really the combination of Get-It with Get-It mixin is one of the easiest state management solutions that you can have. Yeah, it's extremely straightforward, and if you want to have more control, you throw in a Flutter command, and then you have a full suite. I'm more the fan of a Lego approach with a lot of small modules instead of one big module that you have to use. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. Especially the part where we can avoid using too many builders. It's like a very, very nice feature of Get-It and Get-It mixin in this approach.
Actually, this is Flutter Hooks also does this. Yeah, but Flutter Hooks is it's a mentally further. Yeah, it's more complicated to use. Yeah, and also it can easily and it's the Get-It mixin is more restricted and more focused, which makes it in many cases easier. But if you use hooks, yeah, there is also a Flutter a Get-It hooks package, yeah, which offers all the Get-It mixin functions as hooks, yeah, so that you can use it in combination with this, yeah. So that's
I can see. Very nice, very nice. Before we go to the questions from the chat, I have one question for myself left. Since you've like all the examples you showed, and you even said it explicitly, it's like when do you even use stateful widgets anymore? Like, I mean, yeah, if we, for example, use animations and stuff, I can see that because we put in some ticker providers and so on. But like after that, when I use something like you get it with Get It Mixed, when do we even use stateful widgets anymore?
I don't use it anymore with with this, because the thing is, under the hood, it uses the same mechanisms that a stateful widget does, just with less code, and it takes care of things that you have to register and unregister. There's even there's even a push scope method also that will pop automatically when the widget is removed from the screen, for example. So I was thinking about adding some more things, but then we reached the space where you probably should use hooks, if for example, to register animation controllers and all this stuff. And maybe if people really want it, I will think about it, but currently not now.
Yeah, good one. The only thing where I especially like to use stateful widgets, except for animations, for example, if I have some kind of small but reactive dialogues where I just want to have some stateful builder inside it and just try something like that. That's the only part where I do it.
Yeah, actually, I have to correct me. For example, where I also use it is for forms typically. Because I have to some temporary state variables where to store the separate fields before I collect all the data and then push it into my business logic, for example. So
good point.
So because I don't like to if I have a form, I don't want to have a direct handler into my business logic for every edit field typically, but I see a form is one is a self-responsible widget which returns me a bundle of verified data that I can directly pass on into my business logic.
Yeah, so good point. Yeah, true. Okay, so we have one question just stated up here is, I would like to see an architecture sample application with Get It Mixed in. Do you have some sample code on GitHub?
Yes. Yes and no. There are two things. One thing that I really can recommend is, even if it's really simple, is the example of the Get It package. But it shows everything that it does, and there is I made a port of the architecture samples from Brian Egan to Get It and Flutter command. Unfortunately, Brian, don't know why. He does not want to merge my PR. It's stale for half a year now. Strange. And so I'm currently we are right now, I think. Romain Restel was it with the Flutter with the small Dash app that we on Twitter, which now several people implement in different ways. I will do this in with Get It in the next time, and especially just check out the example app, and I also made one earlier, but I have to dig up the link, which was also a port of some other from one of our YouTubers who wanted to show how it looks like if it is in Get It. Yeah.
Okay, I see. Okay, so another question directly to your topic or to your presentation is a bit funny question, but I mean, since you're the author of Get It, you will use it probably all the time. But are there even any consideration using maybe something like Riverport or any other state management?
No.
Yeah.
No. This is. No, because it's the combination. One of the things is really the way it's straightforward. And in the meantime, especially this startup synchronization plus the scoping are features that I won't miss, don't want to miss anymore.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah,
And honestly, to be fair, Riverport has one advantage. With Get it can happen if you forget to register your object and you call it in your app somewhere. You will earn an exception. Yeah, that's just the way it is. Which normally isn't the problem because you will find them during testing. This is they are so fundamental. This can't happen to you with Riverport. Yeah, this is one of the things Remy managed on the price that you now have to global constants, and I don't get warm with the concept. It's but maybe I'm a dinosaur. I'm like straightforward and simple solutions. That's why I stay with Get it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you can solve any problems with that, so why not, right?
Yeah. Actually, it's a nice thing as a package author. If I need if I need a feature that it doesn't support, yeah, I just build it in. So it's really this is one of the great advantages as a package author.
Yeah, true. That's a good point. Yeah, right. Okay, great. So thanks again, Thomas. Really nice talk. Really enjoyed asking the questions just in your talk. I think this was really good insight.
What was this question that Majid made? Said you should ask me.
Oh, that was a good question. Yeah, what was it? I think it was about. Oh, yeah, it was about unifying. If Flutter will be able to unify different platforms, the code base and so on, so manage everything, the plugins and so on.
Yeah, it's this. I would say this has multiple levels. The one thing is on the plugin side, I think there has been an extremely effort from the community with the Plus packages that allow us really to have a unified access to the most often used devices, sensors, and services that we have on computers across all the thing. The other thing is to have one app that looks on every platform like the platform without any work. Unfortunately, not. I would have liked that this would have been more supported. The drawback, if you try to do this, we had this with Xamarin Forms, that you have to reduce your functionality to the least common denominator, because so you never would be able to access all the features that Material, for example, or Cupertino would give you. And but as Majid also pointed out, in my opinion, if you stick to the system, for example, to the system dialogues like a date picker and all the stuff, and do this platform specific, yeah, because this is the things users will recognize if suddenly an unfamiliar date picker shows up, yeah. But if the button looks different, honestly, in my opinion, we are the mobile developers are the only ones that really make a fuss about this. And so if the app does what it should, and it does not surprise me with a completely different usability paradigm, then I have no problem with Material app that runs on iOS, on an iPhone. Yeah, that's or what's more typical in the meantime, that you have a complete custom design, and then it doesn't matter at all. Yeah.
Yeah, true. Good point. Another question which has been asked is, how much time do you spend to maintain and extend Get it, for example?
It's luckily with Get it, it's not so much. The thing is, Because it has settled at some point now. The nullability, null safety migration was quite some work, and yeah, I would say from users I get an issue with a question once a week. So it for me it speaks that it speaks for that it's just easy enough that you don't have to have a lot of problems. Yeah. Also, there are a lot. What many people don't know, there is this package injectable, which actually is a layer on top of Gedit, which allows you to use Gedit with attributes on your classes. Yeah, so that you don't have to write the registering code yourself. Yeah. Some people like it. I'm not a fan of. I do it. I prefer to do this manually and have the full control. But it's a nice thing, for example. And but other packages, have more work on it. It's I have in the meantime I have so many packages that it's really sometimes you get a bad conscience that there is some. Like the step nephew that never that you don't care about anymore so much, yeah, and then you have to, oh yes, now you should move it to null safety, but actually I don't use it anymore at all, yeah. So and then I'm happy if somebody from the community, for example, I had this recently with my Firestore helpers, which is a very nice package to help with dynamic queries on Firestore. But I don't use Firestore in any project at the moment. And but a user that was happy with it, pinged me and say, oh I would like to help or to contribute to it. And I'm very happy for everyone that does something like this.
Oh yeah, that's the great thing about open source, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but sometimes it happens to you that you get that you get sometimes issues with that are very rude. This can happen, yeah, and or that they have that people feel entitled that you have to make the change immediately and things, and it's just you can't do it. Yeah, it's we do it. We do all the open source stuff in our free time. Yeah, most of it, and yeah, for this.
Yeah, true. But I think luckily the pros outweigh the cons, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Very nice. So thanks again for the talk. Very nice. And I think we can just go over to the Ask Us Anything part, where all the people behind the scene can join us who have been part of the stream already.
Sure.
Yeah, looks great. I think unfortunately Majid is probably not there in time. Maybe we can get lucky and he might join us in some few minutes, but for now it's us four. And I would actually start off because we just finished with the state management part. And for me, my personal preference, state management is a very interesting topic. I read one of your tweets, Thomas, where you said like for so long you didn't even think about the word what is even state management and so on. And it was very similar with me. Like I've been programming and doing stuff and never thought about state management in this sense. And once I've started with Flutter, it was like the most important thing to choose state management, to know what you have to do and so on. I was like, I don't even know what it is.
Yeah, it's in a way it's insane. I often said it before with other frameworks. We just talked about how do I synchronize my UI with my data. Yeah, and that was it. And so the first time I came in here, state management. Okay, and actually there's a very good blog post from Matt Carroll. What is state management? I think it's called, and he explains it that it's not explainable. Nobody agrees on it. What it really means.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's like really hard to pin it down what it actually means, and different people will consider different topics inside state management.
Yeah,
and Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Honestly, what is often neglected by this is that we focus so much on state management packages and don't talk about enough about how to structure a whole application. This is one of the things why I try to solve with the RVMS approach that I really like. But I so often see discussions of, I use block. I said, yeah, okay, block, but what's your architecture? Sure, you have, but how is your app structured? Yeah, and this is one of the things that I think we should more focus on than on how do I trigger these in the end the set state in my UI when my data changes.
Yeah, very good point. I think so too. We have a question. It's directly to you, Thomas. Thomas, you said that you aren't using Firebase at the moment or any of your project. What are good alternatives you are using? You would recommend for auth storage and database?
Actually, I'm currently very fond of nhost.io. It's a Swedish company. They offer a package consisting of it's Postgres database on the bottom. Then it's GraphQL with Azure, or I don't know how you pronounce it.
Azure, I think Azure, yeah.
Azure?
Oh, sorry, wrong.
No,
Azure, maybe, yeah.
It's written Hashura. I don't know how you pronounce it. It's an open source GraphQL add-on. And they also offer services for authentication and storage. And in my opinion, they are very approachable, I have to say. And they are GDPR compliant. That's also one of the, because you can say where your data should be stored. Yeah, that's one of the important things. And we use for our charity platform that we are currently working on, they sponsor us the whole backend, for example, for this. It's a very it's really nice. You on Twitter you reach the CEO, and I think he's also one of the chief programmers of the system. Yeah, and it's different than when you try to reach some support on Firestore. Yeah, you won't get any this.
That's true.
Then there is Superbase. Which actually tries to replicate the Firebase API. It looks interesting. I haven't used it yet.
Very interesting. Just to go back to the architecture part, because I think it's very interesting as well, because the only official, there are obviously probably more of that official ones, but the really bigger official architecture approach I know is the clean architecture, which tries to separate all this logic and so on. But for what I've tried to read into it, and what I grasp is that it's pretty strict and hard to use, because it has different layers. It's very scattered.
It's a totally overkill, and honestly, I'm extremely it makes me mad that Uncle Bob claimed the term clean for his architecture and also for his book Clean Code. Yeah, because it's an exaggeration. Yeah. And always I say, if I really want to go to something with a lot of layers and separation, then I would go in the direction of domain-driven development. Yeah, the DDD approach, which is also always encapsulates but in a very in a very logical way. But we are talking about apps. Yeah. And this is one of the things that often I say, keep things simple, yeah. So I have no problem to use a global variable that holds my service locator, yeah. It's an app, yeah. That nothing will happen, and I have rarely seen that a lot of app code was reused in another app, yeah. If it's not code that is really that you already broke out into some library because it's really some sort of library function, yeah. And So really keep things simple. This is
yeah, I can see that. As you
It
said,
always depends on what you want to try to solve, right? When you're working on a big product company, maybe where the code base has to live for, I don't know, 10 years or something, then such things might become more important than, I don't know, a job for a direct customer or something.
Probably, but honestly,
So-
I have to be fair. I have never worked in an environment with a really big team. Yeah, I had always very, very small teams where I was working, and I honestly have. It's really hard for me to imagine how how 1,000 developers at Facebook worked on one app. Yeah, this is one of the things. It's really hard to imagine how can this work. What are they all doing? Yeah, what are they doing all the time? And and the other thing, I think this was one of the things that I had a pleasure. I think almost 20 years ago, to spend an evening with Kent Beck, the inventor of extreme programming. And we shared a bottle of wine. It was quite nice. And he in his talk before, he made a point, and I think this is really one of the things a lot of people still have not really realized or internalized with the today development tools that we have. Yeah, with our IDEs that we have. Refactoring a large code base is no longer a real problem. Yeah, and if you have a test suite with it, it's also not a problem. So trying to design upfront for every case that can happen doesn't make sense. It's just stupid. If you really have to, for example, I had to rip out now in my app. I had to switch out the JSON serialization because the package that I used before, JSON serializer, was no longer supported, or is no longer maintained, and there won't be a null safe version of it. And I think it took me 1.5 hours, and everything was working again. Yeah, and it's doable. So even if I have to replace my state management package, I think it's doable in a few days today. Yeah, with the tools that we have. So focus on the.
I mean, I totally agree. Don't overdo things from the start, but it always depends on what you're working on. So
no, I don't say you should not spend any. You shouldn't spend time on design. Definitely not. Yeah, you should have an idea what might be the near future of your app. Yeah, but don't try to abstract to plan for any possible scenario that might never happen. This is the
yeah, I see. We've got a question from one of the viewers, which is, what do you think of the current state of the Flutter camera plugin, especially when working with the camera stream?
Honestly, I can't say really something about this because I have no project with cameras at the moment. But I know that the people from Baseflow IT in the Netherlands, they're Netherlands. They did a lot of work on improving this plugin. So I don't know how is the latest state, but I have seen that they did a lot of work, and I think it should have been improved in the last time.
Yeah, good. I haven't used the camera plugin until now as well. Haven't yet had a use case for me. I don't know if any one of you, Matze or Anton, had used it before.
No, not yet.
Yeah, it's kind of specific, I guess, right? So you have to have a good use case for camera plugins. So we can't say the latest one, but of course check out the Baseflow one, the Flutter plugins. Maybe you can see it there. How the latest state looks like. So I mean, we are like on point right now. It's like 8 o'clock. I don't see any more questions in the comments, and so I think it's a good point to just end it here and to wrap it up. So again, really thanks a lot for you guys for being here, for having you here. Really grateful, really nice insights. I really love getting all the information from different contributors. Always nice working with different people, and looking forward if any of you might join again and want to talk again. We are always open for that. And
I'm more than happy to come again. I have enough things that I want to share with you. Things like Flutter WebGL or something like this. A lot of interesting stuff.
Yeah, right. That's a very big topic. Yeah, of course.
And
thanks a lot, guys.
And I was really surprised how many. I don't know how much viewers we now had, but I saw the registered members of your meetup. It's a really big meetup. This is really cool. Yeah.
Thanks a lot. We try to get there.
Yeah, I also did. I did talks before with 10 people or so. That's also possible. But
I mean, you were here at our DevFest as well. You saw how many people we have, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we're trying to get bigger and bigger. The more people view, the better it is, right? So we're really happy if we are getting bigger and bigger, growing community. So don't forget to check out our Twitter handle. Take a look there. We will post some updates of upcoming meetups, and you can always get in touch with us via Twitter or via Meetup as you like. We will try to look everywhere. And even if you want to have an interesting topic, you might just suggest it, and maybe you can even be a presenter here if you just have a good topic. We really encourage everyone to contribute in any case, meaning in our website, being a presenter, whatever it is. We like to having everyone here. So thanks a lot, guys.
Otherwise, you have to listen to Rennie every time.
Yeah, and you don't want that. You really don't want that. So thanks again. Thanks a lot, guys, and see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.